And there was something invigorating, liberating. It turned me on. I craved it. And it wasn't so much craving the man, but what this man embodied through my pain, through all of the trauma and the experience that I've lived. I no longer wanted to be a victim. All of this trauma, all of this struggle, that can't be it. And then I just live my life and I die one day. No, there has to be a reason to come out on the other side and still love as deeply as I do, care as much as I do. And now what do I want to do with it?
Welcome to today's episode of Universal Intimacy. I am super excited to be sitting here today with my sister, Victoria. She's an intuitive energy worker and soul level entrepreneur who leads transformational healing journeys using the sacred technology of Kundalini. She's also studied and trained in shamanic breathwork, Reiki, and somatic-based body healing modalities. She is a dear friend of mine that we traveled and journeyed within the community of Fit for Service, led by Aubrey Marcus. She shares her healing and guides humans both in individual body-based approaches as well as group containers. We are here to share about our journey as women and sisters together, and I'm just feeling really ecstatic and juiced up to have a really sweet conversation with my sister.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it is so great to be here. So I'm like very aware of my dog that all of a sudden as you're talking was like, it's time to move. The energy's going. So she's just ready.
I know. I love that we have a four-legged friend in the studio today.
Yeah. My ride or die.
Oh, yeah. We've been on quite a ride.
Yeah, to say the least. So to be here right now is mind-blowing because we actually had, what was it, like maybe a year or a year and a half where we weren't as connected. And recently, a couple months ago, came back together in like the most beautiful and synchronistic of ways.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, let's kind of open with that journey. You know, I shared that obviously you are a practitioner in energy, and I know we've exchanged a lot of energy and we've been in so many different containers and ceremonies together. And so it's even, hard to figure out exactly where to begin. But just, you know, I also know you as an epic entrepreneur and real estate mogul, and you run your family's charitable foundation. So I feel like you're multi-talented and so multifaceted. But how did you begin to go on this quest of really understanding your dharma, your soul's purpose, and just your own unraveling and healing journey?
Yeah, it's wild to think about all of these things I am now and the person I was and every little piece that needed to happen to get here, and knowing, you know, I wouldn't change anything about those pieces, but going through them in those moments, it's almost feels soul crushing and catastrophic. And, you know, I think each experience I lived through, the first one being, you know, losing my dad when I was 12 to cancer. And, you know, death is it's a hard thing to process, especially when you're young. You don't really understand it. You're not developed. And it wasn't something that we talked about. So I just compartmentalized everything. And I'm like, I have to be strong. I have to keep it together. And, you know, I'm like, if my mom is falling apart and she's grieving, then I have to be there for her. And I'm going to be tough and raise myself and stay strong. And that was sort of the beginning of this mentality of, if you're going to watch the people you love die, and then you have to do everything you can to survive. And part of that is putting away the most beautiful parts of yourself with it, which is my emotions and my tears and just surviving. And that's what I did for a really long time, and really just became independent. And then that transpired from that to an eating disorder, which I didn't really understand what it was at the time, but holding on to so many emotions for so many years and they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They needed to come out. And I started to have this anger and all of these rageful emotions and was very hostile. And when my mom tried to come back into my life, I'm like, who are you? Where have you been? I raised myself. I've got myself. You stay there and do your thing. I'm going to be over here doing mine. And I really was not a great person as a teenager. And as I'm moving through all these emotions and things wanting to come up, the only thing I realized I had control over was food. So I turned to not eating to sort of numb and just exist. And then when those emotions would come up and feeling empty wasn't doing it, I would binge. And I just had to stuff it away and numb myself. And I really lived in this cycle without even knowing I was in this cycle. I just kind of did this pattern and thought, well, I must just be broken. This is just how it is for me. And I'm just going to figure it out. And, you know, you go through this pattern of not eating for days and weeks at a time. The emotions get too big. Binge, binge, binge. Shame immediately. You know, it's kind of like you're in a binge blackout and you come out and you don't know where you just went, but you know what you just did. And the only thing you can do is reverse it back and immediately stop eating, over-exercise, and just punish the crap out of yourself. And I really cycled through that for many years. And from there, went to treatment and really started to work on myself and understand a little bit more about who I was, what I was experiencing, that emotions can be beautiful, but you have to give yourself space and permission. And it's not going to be comfortable. And so that was the beginning of my journey. And actually, my mom was the person, she took me to this spa resort center in Arizona. And she introduced me to energy work. They didn't call it Reiki there. They called it healing touch. But it was my first time experiencing energy. And I still remember the vision and the visual I had.
Wow.
And I was like, what was that? What is that? I need more. This is amazing. So that really threw me deeper into getting curious and wanting to understand astrology, understand a little bit more about myself, and started doing meditation, started doing yoga. And I was very surface level still with it. But I realized that it was giving me something that, not to say Western medicine was failing, but where they wanted to, you know, sort of umbrella define me or put me on Oxycontin or, you know, this medication or this pill. The Eastern side was giving me the root. And it was helping me dig deep to understand the why so that I could become more in the, you know, who am I on the other side of this?
Yeah, wow. Honoring you. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and just sharing that common theme, first and foremost, of grief, right? Grieving over the loss of your father, and then how that can show up in our, what I like to say sometimes, maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? Honoring first and foremost that it is a coping mechanism of survival. You know, there's so many different coping mechanisms we can choose. And so thank you so much for sharing your journey with your own eating disorders. I think that that is something many women can relate to. And so to share from that place of vulnerability just warms my soul and touches my heart, because I feel that so many humans are struggling with not being able to express the big emotions, like you said, right? Like you're having the grief and the anger and the rage and the sadness, and what do you do with it? And so, yeah, it's so beautiful to hear you now share that. And I know now that you've found so many epic spaces and places to express and move through the big energy and motion, as we like to say. And I'm curious, you know, in that session in Arizona and what you experienced, you know I kind of call it like following the breadcrumbs of like where the journey took you after that, and in the journey of understanding some of the Eastern traditions to be more holistic. What led you to Fit for Service? How did you find Aubrey Marcus's community that we journeyed together in? I'm just so curious. I don't know if I even know that origin story of how you found his work and that group.
Yeah, I think it might have been first his podcast. And what's interesting, at the time, he was with this woman, Whitney, and they had this polyamorous open relationship. And I was not in one myself or in any interest, but I was intrigued because I'd never really heard about it before. I wouldn't say I was sheltered, but my mom being, Eastern European, life was very different for her. So growing up, we didn't have conversations around sex, sexuality, losing your virginity, getting your period and how you handle that. I really did it all and figured it out for myself or leaned on my friends.
Yeah.
So to hear somebody speak so openly about sex and sexuality blew my mind, especially as, I'm sitting there and I'm going, wait, a woman is open to what? How does this work? Because I really had no context of healthy relationships in my life. I, not having my dad, you miss a foundational piece of what really is a healthy relationship. And even though I saw my parents love each other very much, I'm like, well, the people you love die. So let's not get too close. So my idea of intimacy was very casual sex. And I had multiple partners in that capacity, but there was always a barrier to entry emotionally for me. And I didn't know how to get past that. And so hearing someone speak so openly, I'm like, I'm a little curious. It piqued me a little bit. Yeah. And I started to listen to his podcast and just, very casually following him and observing how I moved through the relationships I did have and always feeling like a piece was missing. And I started to kind of explore a little bit with my own sexuality per se. And I think somewhere around this time was when 50 Shades of Grey came out and it was a big thing. Yeah. I was like, so I read the book and my partner at the time, and I was like, read this book. And I was like, this is kind of what I want. Okay. And God bless him, he read the book and started to explore with me. And I realized how much fun it was and how playful it could be and how good I felt. And then, then you kind of go back to the regularness of the relationship and I would get bored and I would pull away. It's almost as if I was trying to create chaos a little bit.
Beautiful awareness.
Without realizing at the time how aware.
The feminine are really good at creating chaos, right? And the sort of like red flag shadow side of that, we call it like self-sabotage, but actually chaos is such a beautiful feminine frequency, which I know we'll get into later. Related to Shakti Ma.
I was seeking something without realizing it at the time, but sort of creating it and the tension and the stress and the discomfort. And so when I fell into a sort of dynamic with somebody, it was purely physical, purely sexual. And it was a space where when I stepped foot inside of their door, I could shut my brain off. And I could just be as they desired. And there was something invigorating, liberating. It turned me on and I craved it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much craving the man, but what this man embodied. And so we really explored for many years this space. And as I was continuing to follow Aubrey and deepening in my spirituality, I went through a really big trauma with my mom. And it's very vulnerable to even say it so publicly right now, but my mom was almost murdered when I was 24.
Whew.
And, when you've already lost one parent, I'm already holding on tightly. And then when someone tries to take your other one from you, there's something that it does to your system, your body, your whole nervous system being, that without me realizing in that moment of that trauma, changed something within me. And this person, during this chain of events of, navigating this really traumatic experience with my mom, that put me very deeply into my masculine, because I once again had to shut myself off, feel nothing, and be in my masculine to take care. Yeah. And this person gave me permission, again, when I crossed through their door, to shut my brain off and just be. And it was the only place I really felt safe, because the world was not safe. People were not safe. I couldn't trust anyone. And this sort of, I don't want to say like self-fulfilling prophecy, but it was, if I don't do it myself, no one will. Mm-hmm. I can't count on anyone but myself. Everybody has a motive. And again, the people you care most about could die, so don't feel anything. Wow. Just be. And for a very long time, that was my way of being. And still, following Aubrey, listening to his podcast, deepening in my spirituality, listening to his stories on journeying with medicines and what it was opening up for him. And I felt called to want to do something. Yeah. But I was afraid, because I knew that once I stepped into that space where I was no longer in control, I had to feel everything. And that was terrifying, because I couldn't control the outcome and I didn't know what was going to come up. The only thing I knew was I was really, really angry all the time. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to unleash that into the world. Yeah. So I would say maybe 4 years ago-ish, I hit a point where I think everything, my body, my energy, my being, couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sustain that way of living. I couldn't hold that anger, that emotion. And it was New Year's Eve, and I stayed home that night, and I just was in the middle of a binge, struggling with my emotions, and doom scrolling social media, and Aubrey's Fit for Service ad came up. And then at the time, you had to record yourself of why you wanted to do Fit for Service and why this was a good fit for you. So I did my video, and I just am sobbing through it, and I still have it. And I'm just like, la, 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 like, cheers, 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 just losing my shit, and just going like, I think this is the only thing I have left, because I'm so tired that just laying down and dying right now would probably be the biggest blessing, because I couldn't carry myself any longer. I had nothing left. And 3 days later, I got a response. You've been accepted. Cry. Just, oh, thank God, I have somewhere to go. Yeah. And I threw myself in for
you did.
like 3 years straight. That was it. That became my life, was who the hell am I, and how do I love myself, and how do I know why the hell did all of this happen to me, so that I can make peace and let go and step forward.
Yeah. So beautiful. Yeah. You touched upon so many pieces that I want to pin, and we're going to get back to. So we're definitely getting back to 50 Shades of Grey and subspace, pinning that. You presence this piece of being in your masculine, which I know you and I know what that means and the dynamics of polarity. And I think if we can color that in for some listeners, because, you're a gorgeous feminine woman, right? And you always have been. So some people may be very confused. Like, what does that mean that she was in her masculine? And I can also share a story, because I met you when you were in that stage of your journey of the holding on to and not being able to fully express those emotions and that need to be in control. So, yeah, just color that in. Like when you said that you were in your masculine, how did that show up for you?
Yeah, for me, it was very automatic or autopilot even. So it's as if I could take all of my emotions, all of my feelings, had my mental box, and I would put them there. And so I was very just regimented, blank face. And I lived off of lists, structure, and schedules. And I would just rinse and repeat that.
Yeah.
So I was always doing, and there was no rest. There was no emotion. There was no softness, because if there was, then I was weak and I could be taken advantage of and I could be manipulated. So I was always prepared for a fight. My situational awareness was treating everything, every interaction, every moment as if it was chess. So I was always looking for their next move.
Wow.
And then 3 steps ahead of that move.
Right.
And
which is fascinating because our culture, especially here in America, really rewards that, right? You were a very effective chess player.
Yeah.
You were successful in business, which I know mostly showed up in real estate. But also, again, when I met you, you were the person that was coordinating the housing, like really effective communicator, really on top of her shit, like was able to fully execute logistical plans. And especially in the spaces of what we call like spiritual community or people that are on their transformational healing journeys, a lot of humans are more in this sort of like flakiness, And so it was so refreshing to me to have you in those spaces because you were like so structured and regulated and on it. And I felt like I could trust you, right? So it's interesting, and again, obviously I know you now and how much you've unraveled and flourished and blossomed. So it's so funny when I'm thinking back to that time and who you were. And, and I hear you speaking of it as, I just want to honor it as well, right? Like it was value that you were bringing to the community by being in your masculine and being someone that we could trust and count on to organize things, get shit done. Yeah. So honoring you in that.
Thank you for that. And I think, I appreciate you kind of mentioning that because I'm talking so much about me being in my masculine. Like I was always surviving, which yes, I was, but it had this other side of the coin, which was this part of me that was so loving and wanted to just take care of other people.
Yeah.
And I think because I didn't know how to take care of myself, I didn't want to, so I would deflect and take care of everybody else. When I was deep in my eating disorder, what was I doing? Cooking feasts for my friends because I loved seeing them nourished and taken care of. I was always the sober driver because I wanted to make sure everybody was safe and got home safe.
Yeah.
I was always supporting people, talking to them on the phone, always available. And like you said, I'm coordinating houses because I wanted to create a space that nurtured in a way that I so deeply desired.
Yeah.
So I would either sort of gift it to others, which was still a gift to myself, and then sort of be in the experience of it. Not always fully in it, but I loved watching people be happy, held, nurtured, loved, taking care of all of their needs. It fueled me.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing the other side of that people aren't fully aware of when they're receiving that and they're witnessing it. You just think, oh, here's this really loving, nurturing, poised, graceful, well-organized human. Like, wow, she's amazing, right? She's a queen. And like, I mean, I had an idea because we were in these transformational healing containers, but at face value, people would have no idea that inside you're struggling to love yourself, that deep down we're still moving through heavy emotions that you couldn't fully express. So I think it's beautiful to kind of pull back the veil, like we say, or drop that mask or that facade and just share with humans, because I guarantee that everyone listening and watching has someone in their life that they pedestal, that they think is doing great and is highly successful. And yet that person too may be suffering. So just like a mental health awareness piece, I think is important here to presence.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting because people will always say, oh, I'm so inspired by you. You're so strong. You always have it together. You're this. And it sort of becomes this costume you wear. And you're like, yeah, I am strong. Thank you. So God forbid I have a moment of vulnerability or weakness. Yeah. And it almost felt like I wasn't even having space because if I tried to reach out, then maybe they wouldn't think I was as strong. And then they wouldn't see me that way, view me that way, or reach out to me. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, you're right. Stuff it all back down. Victoria feels nothing. But it's hard to be so strong when in the inside, I'm just like, hold me.
Yeah.
Like, I just want a hug.
Totally. And I'm getting warm because I'm starting to feel into the moment, one of our like cataclysmic moments of the ultimate vulnerability, which is nudity.
Yeah.
Right. And because we just literally had a full circle moment here just now. So I kind of want to reflect upon, do you want to share the story or should I?
Of
how we met.
You share it.
I start to share. Okay.
I love when you share.
So again, we're in Fit for Service. You were already established in the community. I was coming in for my first journey container. It was in Austin, Texas. You had
it was my second year.
It was your second. At that point. Yeah. You had rented an Airbnb, curated this beautiful experience for this co-ed house. So there were men and women in this house together. None of us knew you knew a couple people going in, but I didn't know anyone. I had just gotten done with some of my ISTA trainings. So I was used to being in these experiences where you're in a house and you don't know anyone, right? And what we do kind of on the first night is we'll all sit down and we'll obviously introduce ourselves, and we kind of just had a sharing circle. And it was very important to me as an embodied woman, in order to feel safe and in my expression, that I made a claim and I said, I like to be naked. Like, do I have everyone's consent here to be naked, right? Because I had learned that my nakedness can be triggering or activating to some, so I was just like, I just want to get everyone's consent and permission. Can I be naked in the house? Mm-hmm. And of course, all the guys are like, yeah, sure. Like, oh yeah, great, yeah. And you hear this like, your face, and you had that like stoic expression, right? Like no emotion. And you're like, well, how naked are we talking? You're like, are you going to be like naked in the kitchen making macaroni and cheese? And I was just like, oh, well, no. I mean, I just like, I don't want to hold on. I've done a lot of work on processing guilt and shame. And I don't want to be that person walking from the bathroom that we're all sharing back to my room, feeling like I'm Eve and Adam and Eve holding like a fig leaf, like how we all grew up probably, right? Of like, I have to cover this body because nobody can see it, like feeling riddled with shame. And so for me, it's just like this embodied practice of like, I don't walk around covering myself. So I was like, oh no, I'm just kind of envisioning like as I'm walking from the bathroom to my room, I might be naked. And share what came up for you in that.
Oh, I lost it on the inside. I'm like, and I remember like leaning forward in my chair, just being like, oh, how naked? Like, what do you mean? Like, how offensive? Like, how dare you? And also a little jealous because I'm like, wow, how amazing that that's even a thing you want to do. Because I didn't even walk around my house naked. Like I'd be in my t-shirt and my sweats. It wasn't even a thing that I did alone, but alone in front of other people. And it was so interesting because I had my own room in the house with my own shower. And it was as if you had some intuitive knowing that every single time Victoria's taking a shower, in walks Josephina. Oh, you're in the shower? Do you mind if I join you? Oh, I just have to brush my teeth. Can I use the bathroom? And I'd be like, fighting to cover myself.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go. And I'm like trying to play it cool. And I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, sure, come on in. I'm like, yeah, we can shower together. Like, oh, yeah, here. And just like trying to give myself a chance as each time you did that to be unbothered while screaming on the inside in my own repression, my own shame, my own loops. my own body dysmorphia and comparing myself. And it was just every single day triggered, and trying not to show it because I'm like, I'm strong. You've got this. This isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So, whatever. No, yeah, that's cool. I'm cool. And I was not cool at all.
Yeah. And in this journey and part of doing the work that we've done, we understand that anytime there's a trigger, it's truly an activation code, right? And we can like lean into that with curiosity, right? We get to lean into confrontation with curiosity. And there was another moment that occurred later in this week, and you did exactly that, right? Like instead of repressing the feeling that you had that was discomfort, frustration, anger towards me, you basically presenced it to me in real time. Share what happened in that moment.
I remember the moment, and because the biggest thing with Fit for Service for me, next to learning how to fall in love with myself, was learning how to be a little bit more embodied, use my voice, speak up for myself, take up more space, have boundaries. And so we were taking a group photo, and you had present something about somebody else who had been staying in the house with us, like wanting to bring them into the picture. Yeah. And I made a comment, you made a comment. The picture was taken, and I went, I need to talk to you right now. And it was this very sudden, like, not cool, like not okay. And not in the way where I felt this anger to scold or, be aggressive. Yeah. But it was, I don't like what you just said about me towards me. And instead of holding on to it and pretending like I'm not bothered or it didn't happen and brush it off, which really is just bottling it, and then it comes up later. Yeah. I'm like, no, we're going to talk about it. And we were able to dig in, and both of us touched on triggers that we didn't even know we were holding on to in relation to other issues, fears, and stories that we had around, female friendships, money, abundance, worthiness. And it was beautiful because that moment, actually, our friend Kimberly, the photographer, she captured that exact moment of us having this breakthrough.
We were in our hearts, and you can see the emotion in the picture, like I'm crying or on the verge of crying. You can see that we're in our hearts. And I think this is the piece of confrontation that doesn't get shown in media, right? I think that reality TV and Desperate Housewives and Kardashian culture and whatever is out there tries to glorify conflict in a very comedic way, or in this intensified expression of emotion that is supposed to entertain us. And when you're in this embodied wholeness and you're leaning into conflict with curiosity, to presence what's alive in you with truth and authenticity, but also with love, deep love, you begin to see each other as mirrors, right? And so in that moment, we're witnessing the self in the other. We're saying, I see you. I see you, sister. Yeah. I see the me in you, I see everything that you're feeling and sharing. That's true for me at times too, right? And so, there's that sacred sisterhood piece that, again, it just got distilled into that micro moment between us that was really, it was a pivotal moment in my own journey as well, because I was doing all the divine feminine embodiment work, and there is a lot of wounding from feeling judged and shamed by other women, and which was initially seated in me based on your reaction to me wanting to be in my liberated state of nudity, right? So I felt it then, and then it didn't get addressed then. So it built upon itself. So for it to come out in that moment related to that photo, we both knew it was way bigger than what happened in that photo. It was, and it wasn't just ours, right? And we know that in that moment, we're not just doing it for ourselves in our own journey as women. We're feeling the ripple effect across the collective, and we're healing ancestral lineages, and we're healing relationships that all women have with other women.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And thank you. I mean, that was huge for me because, when you're moving through these spaces and you're spending so much time with basically complete strangers, that by the end of these intense experiences and you shedding layers, sharing your most vulnerable self, and then standing a little bit straighter, a little bit stronger at the end of it, you're creating bonds that, unless you're in those containers and spaces, you really can't articulate them to people. Yeah. And a lot of these people can become lifelong friends, feel like family, brothers, sisters. And I really knew I was craving that. I'd always been jealous of female friendships when I saw them, and I didn't really know how to have very healthy ones with my own trust issues and the wounds that I carried. And so being in these spaces was slowly giving me that soft place to land and see that not only can men be safe, but so can women. And that if you allow yourself to show yourself, so much expands and opens up that you would never anticipate, because these relationships, these people, these friendships become catalysts to your biggest change, your biggest wins, but also some of the most beautiful work you could end up doing in your life that you would never know would happen. Yeah. And, obviously look at how far we've come and what we've done in this beautiful space we shared yesterday. Yeah. And who would have thought that one house for 5 days would transpire and create this beautiful opportunity that we have now in this incredible sisterhood.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much more to share. I'm you started to share the psilocybin journey, and that was a beautiful moment of that role reversal, where as in the beginning you were kind of the nurturing one in the curation of this experience and getting the house, and then our roles kind of got reversed in the journey, because I was co-facilitating and you were in the medicine, and I got to kind of give you back that mother archetype feeling, and it was just so sweet. And thank you for that experience as well, and trusting me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I think, a lot of people hold judgment around what they consider to be, medicine and plant medicine. And that was my first big journey with medicine. Yeah. In that context, aside from just energy work, and to have the experience I had, which was actually very playful. And the energy didn't want me necessarily to go inward, but it wanted me to be fully present, connect with my inner child, be a little playful, be out in nature, and also be held by you, getting snacks and just sitting outside, cuddling under the stars. And I remember it so beautifully and vividly. And it was the most playful and connected to that part of myself that I had been in a long time, because going through traumatic experiences, it really sort of, I don't want to say stunts you, but that child freezes. Yeah. And with, losing my dad at 12, my inner child had to, stop. Didn't have to. I chose to do that. Yeah. But I never even understood needing to connect to the inner child or what that looked like until that moment. And I'm like, oh, there I am.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you again. It's nice to feel you again. Where should we go next?
Yeah. And I feel like you've been on that journey of following your curiosity and desires ever since, right? Which has led you into really exquisite energy work. Tell us a little bit more about Kundalini and how that got activated within you, and now you're teaching and facilitating and taking humans on individual and group journeys of Kundalini work. So I'm just curious how that showed up in your studies and your path.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have these beautiful spaces of real estate and work and all of these other parts of me that I really identified and attached myself to. And when I started to heal myself, all these other parts came through. And during my time in Fit for Service, and obviously starting to dabble more in the energetics of plant medicine and, I started to experience different things and tap in a little bit more and really go deeper. And I had done a Kundalini.
Just to be clear, too, we didn't do plant medicine in Fit for Service. I just want to be really clear. In
two separate things. It was not associated.
I want to honor the sacredness of that container. We did breath work journeys, but
we did the breath
Aubrey
work,
was not giving us mushrooms. That was our own.
Two separate occurrences and times and experiences, but they overlapped during the same period of time. And so I did Kundalini yoga, and that was an interesting experience for me. And it's very different than Kundalini energy work. Okay. And, the yoga is more held posture, certain poses, deep breath. And I remember in one of those moments doing this pose, doing this breath under the full moon, and I'm closing my eyes, meditating, and I just get this jolt through my body, and I see this snake go up my spine.
Wow.
And I was like, this is so cool. I know what my next tattoo is. I had no idea what was happening.
Wow.
And I felt something happen in my body.
Yeah.
And a couple of days later, maybe a couple of weeks, I woke up one morning in intense physical pain. And I thought it was just stiff, sore, but the pain wasn't going away. It was actually getting tighter. And I felt very constricted in my body, in my space. I was a little bit afraid and really not getting answers from Western medicine and Western doctors. They're like, you're fine, nothing's there. I'm like, tell that to my body and to what I'm feeling and to this hurt that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And because of, the years of all of the work, I started to go, okay, so if it's not this, there's got to be something energetically happening. And I tried to get curious, but the pain was so loud and so strong that...
Where was it located again?
So it's interesting because it was almost like if we had wings as humans, right, where your wings would sit, that's where it was. Yeah. And it wrapped around to the front.
Got it, yes.
And it made it hard to breathe, which is such a representation of so much of my life of not feeling safe and holding my breath and, sucking it all in. So the only way I could breathe was up.
Right.
There was no expansion.
Yes.
And I was terrified. And the pain was getting worse and worse and worse to the point where I was like, if I'm just going to suffocate and die, just take me now. It was debilitating. And all I could really do was just lie on the floor and sort of just, do body work, massage to manage the symptoms. But I couldn't figure out where the root of it was and what was the point. And of course, again, another wonderful moment on doom scrolling Instagram, and this woman's ad popped up. And I
love that we're honoring the synchronicities of doom scrolling on and finding your guides. Thank you for that, Victoria.
It serves a purpose if you let it.
I'm paying for the boosted ads. It works.
Just find the person in their doom and it's all good. And there was this image of her standing over them, doing something with her hands, but it was the person's face that I was watching. And they were in this deep expression of, it looked like pain, but it was release. They were crying and they were screaming, but I was like, wow, how cathartic. I don't know what they're doing, but I want to emote that feeling.
And you, at this point, you had done a lot of breathwork journeys, right? We had done all those journeys in Fit for Service with breathwork and the shamanic breathwork.
Yeah.
And so you did not have those cathartic releases in those ceremonies?
No, not to that level.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm like, I need to go deeper.
Yeah.
I need to explore more of myself through this, because plant medicine, as beautiful as it is, it's not always going to give you the answers you want. It's not there to validate you, and you can ask as much as you want. It's like, you're going to get what you need, not what you want. And so as much as it was helping, it wasn't releasing me.
Gotcha.
So I went on her page, read about this Kundalini energy work. I'm like, I don't even know. She's doing a retreat in Portugal. I'm going, and it was maybe 4 months out or something. I had no idea who she was, what any of it was. I just knew I needed to feel that. I needed to let go, because I had been doing other, modalities of medicine, and unfortunately had a not great experience doing ketamine. As beautiful as some of the experiences were, it was very disassociative for me. And
it is a disassociative.
Very. And
we're not going to talk about ketamine on this podcast.
Yeah, no, but it made me realize that I want to be 100% in my body, in my healing experience.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to be not in control. I want to understand. I want to be part of the medicine that I'm looking for. And because there was no medicine but myself with Kundalini, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to explore. And I went to Portugal, did 5 incredible days. And I think maybe by like the end of the second day, I finally started to tap in a little bit and feel safe to drop into my body, because the beauty of this energy, this medicine, is that it reminds you that you are the medicine all along. You hold the answers. You are the tarot card. You are the pendulum. You are the microdose, the whatever it is that we lean towards. Is you've always had it inside of you. You've just forgotten, or maybe you've disconnected from it because life's hard, and we forget. Yeah. And it's a beautiful reminder of coming back home to the self, that our intuition, our bodies are safe. We are powerful, and everything we need is there. We just have to take a minute to come back in, and it's all there waiting for us.
Yes, sister. Yes. Yeah. Honoring you for stepping into your priestesshood in that journey as well. Something that we share as priestesses. And even though you may not as publicly be proclamating that as I am, but it is about awakening the sacred remembrance, right? That we are the medicine, that the body is the guide, the guru, right? So yeah, it's so exquisite to now witness you in the role of facilitator of this sacred technology, of this embodied medicine. And we did a beautiful inner alchemy journey yesterday. And yeah, tell us more about inner alchemy, this offering that you've curated, and what you've seen in the containers and with the individuals that you've journeyed with.
Yeah. It's
and I'll share what I experienced as well.
Oh my God, I would love to hear.
Yeah.
It's interesting because to get to the point of being a facilitator actually took me about 2 years, because I had such a reverence for this energy, and I knew that it was not to be taken lightly, because it almost in a way not forces you, but it deeply asks you to go inward. Yeah. And it's walking that inner underworld, which I love and I'm very fascinated with. Greek mythology, I've studied it intensely, and the story of Persephone actually is one of the stories I connect with the most deeply and associate Kundalini work with. And I know a lot of people see the story of Persephone as this victim who was taken and raped and forced to stay, but it's actually her reclamation. It's her claiming herself. Yes. Because she used to be known as Kore, in Kore, which is basically just pure and virginal and innocent. Yes. And she lived her life as whatever was desired of her by her parents, her father primarily, and was in service to that. And when she was taken to the underworld by Hades, she actually was able to finally step away from all of the voices and all of the noise and all of the programming and conditioning and get to be in a space of who am I when all I have is myself? And through that journey and that time that she spent in that inner underworld, she claimed herself. She realized, I am a queen. I am divine. There is so much more to me that I have to offer that is of my own becoming and being.
Yeah.
And she chose to stay.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know the story of her coming back in the seasons. When she's here, it's spring.
Right.
And when she's in the underworld, it's winter, that internal journey that we all go through because we move through seasons and cycles constantly. And she claimed herself as Persephone on the other side of that underworld journey and chooses to show up as her every single day. And I resonated so deeply because I, through my pain, through all of the trauma and the experience that I've lived, I no longer wanted to be a victim. I wanted to claim myself and to show up as embodied as I could and say, everything that I've lived can't have been for nothing. All of this trauma, all of this struggle, that can't be it. And then I just live my life and I die one day. No, there has to be a reason.
Yeah.
There has to be a why me through all of this that managed to come out on the other side and still love as deeply as I do, care as much as I do. And now what do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
And I realized, because of how much the Kundalini energy had given me and the many times that I journeyed with other facilitators and was able to hold spaces and retreats for them and receive from them, and also journey with myself, utilizing the energy. And I knew that I needed to come to a very honest and healed place within myself, because before I even step foot on a mat that is shared with someone else that is in their process, I need to come direct. I need to come clean, because I've walked that walk.
Yeah.
I've faced that fire. And there's nothing that anyone could say that would surprise me or shock me or cause me to judge them.
Yeah.
I welcome it all. I love people's pain, struggle, trauma. I'm like, give it all to me. Let's sit with it. Let me meet you there, and let's let it go.
Yeah.
And I finally reached that point. You know, I'm still always on a healing journey, but I knew I was ready earlier this year. In February, late February, I did my training and was able to start to facilitate this energy for other people and groups and one-on-ones and that. And it's been a wildly beautiful experience.
Yeah. 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 I'm reminded, thank you so much for the cognitive reframe of the Persephone myth. That really resonates with me. And I keep pinning things, but we're going to go back. The part of her reclamation was as this erotic being, right? It was part of her sexual reclamation as well, that she, really just wanted to be ravished in the underworld by the dark masculine. But it's interesting because I was actually just listening this morning to a podcast with Stephen Jaggers, who I know we both know. We've done breath work with him, and he was talking about the importance in facilitation related to somatic attunement and range, right? And so the only way that you can step in as a facilitator of these types of transformational healing journeys, Kundalini energy, breath work, whatever it is yes, you've practiced attunement, which means truly understanding energetics and like where someone's at in their experience, but also that you've explored your own range, right? Like you said, that you've been through so many dark nights of the soul. You've been through so many cathartic somatic releases. You've done so many medicine journeys. And so there is something in that like range of your capacity to then handle the full expansion and expression of another human and whatever they're going through, that, you know, like I've got you, right? And you know that you've got them because you've gone through it yourself and you've had yourself in those experiences. And I've just witnessed you in your own growth and expansion, develop that range, right? Like you can't have that range as a facilitator if you haven't done any of that inner excavating and releasing and expressing and like undulating through all of the emotions. So yeah, just honoring you that I've witnessed you in that full range.
Thank you. Yeah. Once I started to give myself permission to feel and to cry again, I realized that my sensitivity is such a superpower.
Yes.
That, when people were like, oh my gosh, you're so sensitive. Oh my gosh, you're so emotional. And I'm like, do you want me to be what I used to be? Pick something you want me to feel.
Well, and sexual. Like, let's start to go here because, yes, beautiful. Release the grief, the sadness, the anger, the rage, the wrath. And if you're not in touch and in tune with those emotions, you're probably not going to be in touch with your sensuality or your sexuality. And so part of your journey has been in this sexual reclamation.
Yeah, especially, in these last couple of months, actually, when we hit the end of the year. The new year always seems to bring great changes for me with doom scrolling.
Oh, great. Another doom scrolling moment. Yes.
But, I realized as last year was coming to a close that I felt complete with Fit for Service. I realized that I had surpassed those teachers and started to become my own master and was claiming my own self-mastery. That I was ready to start to find other teachers and dig into the other parts of myself. Because I was like, all right, I love myself. I'm connected to my emotions. I know how to do the work. I'm not afraid to go deep. What's next? And what I realized was next was, who am I when I want to connect with my sexuality?
I'm like, I'm like over here, like playing with. I'm like, sorry,
I've been waiting.
I've been waiting for the titties to come out. No, just kidding.
I'm like, is it?
No.
But, I realized.
I'm like, Victoria, come play with me over here in this world of sacred sexuality.
And you'd been asking for a while. And I'm like, no. And I'm so glad that I always honored my no, because I think if I would have dove in too early with you, not that I would have traumatized myself, but I would have really taken a different path.
Yeah.
And in staying on my path, when I realized that what was next was, man, I really want to have, what would a healthy relationship look like? Who am I when I really am comfortable with my body, my sexuality, my sensuality, my pleasure? And like, what does that look like? I wanted to feel connected to my orgasm. I wanted to feel connected to a partner and know what I even want in a partnership and what that looks like. And now it's led to these last, several months, in addition to moving through, and even the Kundalini training was so beautifully timed with this sexual, sensual journey that I've been on, because Kundalini at its core is a very feminine and sexual and empowering energy. And I don't just mean sexual in that primal sex, but in creativity, in passion, in desires, in what sparks you and brings you alive, that you feel it here and it just magnetizes out and ripples in such impactful ways.
Yes, yes. So yeah, in your own expression of your Kundalini Ma, it has led you to explore some various dynamics. You referenced it a little bit earlier in that exquisite container you had with a male-bodied individual to hold you in a space where you could fully surrender and release and be in your feminine. So we're going to call these realms like subspace, or like that Dom sub dynamic. So share with us how you've experienced the Dom sub dynamics, and just some of the journeys that you've been on.
Yeah, it's so, I love it so much because it's still happening, right? I'm still deep in this experience. And 50 Shades of Grey, again, referencing, opened me up to even knowing like that verbiage. And then starting to realize how much I had this sub mentality and was like, what does that really even look like? And being curious about, the more sex positive space, BDSM. And I had, I should say, a very interesting relationship with pain.
Yeah.
That I craved it, when I was either in my everyday life, like I deserved it, but also when I would be in these connection points with a partner or a person, I wanted pain. I wanted to feel deeply, to feel connected to them, to the experience, and to myself. And so interestingly enough, as I was, I guess, energetically putting out there at the end of the year, this next phase I wanted to experience, a very dear friend of mine, without knowing this, right? Just energy's always tapped in, sent me an Instagram page. And this is someone we both mutually know, which at the time I did not know or realize, Justin. And she sent me his Instagram and she's like, yeah, you should check this guy out. You said, you kind of once upon a time mentioned this. I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah, because you were both in Florida, right?
Yeah.
It was a practitioner.
It was someone local.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm going to follow him for a while, scope out their work, see. And I was very curious and reached out and we had a conversation. And from everything that he was saying, it was as if my body, right? When you tap in, your body knows what it needs. Like, the body keeps the score, but your body holds the codes.
Ooh, mic drop there. Oh my God.
And
yes,
something just hit.
Yeah.
And I just started crying. And I was like, well, I don't know you. I really have no reason to trust you, but my body knows something. And I need to meet you.
Yeah.
I need to figure this out. And so
beautiful.
Yeah. And we connected and through this connection and, conversations and just sort of getting curious, I connected with someone who finally gave me permission to take up a different kind of space. And I reference this story with him all the time, but the first time we met, he had asked me, what are all of the places on your body that give you pleasure? And we're just having this conversation. I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, like what sort of touch do you like? Gentle? Do you like firm? Do you have a ticklish spot on your neck? Is there a little spot, on the back of your arm that lights you up or this or that? And I was like, no one's ever asked me. And not only that no one's ever asked me, no partner, no person has ever taken the time to explore that with me, let alone that I even knew to explore that.
Yeah.
It was kind of, sex, connection, in like intimacy, if you even want to call it that, was not a job, but it was something you show up for just to reach this end goal.
Yeah.
And, it's like, oh, well, she's wet enough, so like, we're just going to dive right in and you're just happy to be part of the process, but you're not really in the experience. It's not connected.
Well, it's when the experience is focused on that outcome, which is the orgasm, right? And so instead of being in the experience all along as part of the journeyer or the co-journeyer, just like any journey, right? Where you're in your full embodied expression and expansion. And it's interesting that so many humans aren't aware that the experience of sex as a sacred energy exchange is truly about that journey. It's not about the desired end result, which for most humans, it's an orgasm or getting off, right? And when we start to take away the emphasis or the focus on that, and we start to put it on the entire journey, it opens up some of these questions and dialogues.
Yeah, and especially as women, we struggle with our voice of speaking for what we need. I can't tell you, myself included, and many other women who are like, oh, I don't get off from sex. And,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, this was shocking to me to hear that over 78% of women do not orgasm from penetration, from penetrative sex.
yeah. Or, you know, certain parts of our bodies, like we don't have sensation in our nipples or this, or we don't like that. And, you know, because we've been in enough unfortunate, I don't know, not unfortunate, but we've been in enough encounters with men in these sexual moments where we're almost like an accessory, but we're not divinely held, experienced, and explored. And, you know, I can speak for myself and almost all of my past experiences that I always, one, felt that something was missing from those relationships and those experiences, but that I never verbalized my needs, my wants, or my desires, let alone had boundaries.
Yeah.
I just sort of faked it, went along with it, or just kind of disassociated.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that there was so much more to this experience than what I had sort of programmed for myself and been showed and taught, and other men had sort of said, this is how it is, or this is what it's going to be like because I choose it to be this way.
Yeah. And you touched upon, I love the phrase you said, so I'm going to kind of repeat it back. When we are divinely experienced and explored, we recognize too, we have to take ownership and recognize that it can only come from that place of our own proclamation, meaning claiming our desires. We can't expect anyone else to meet our desires if we haven't done the work to understand what our own desires are, right? Like no one's a mind reader. I mean, some people are fortunate enough to find partners who just know how to touch all the right buttons. However, I'm with someone like that who I was like, oh, wow. However, I've obviously done so much work in just claiming my desires. And that is such a critical first step. So I love that you highlighted that was part of your experience with Justin Gottlieb. And it's so foundational. As a tantric practitioner, number one thing I'm doing with my clients is helping them claim their desires, helping them feel just safe to be able to say things like, I want to be spit roasted, or I would love to experience being tied up, or whatever it is, because we carry around so much shame regarding our desires because they've been labeled as being taboo or fetishes or naughty or nasty, or we're holding on to fear, guilt, or shame.
And I really want to highlight in this, you know, and from this conversation with him, it was like, you know, even though he had asked me this question about myself and my body, the bigger framework that he was getting at, you know, it had nothing really to do with sex or, you know, intimacy. It was, if you can't claim this or know this about yourself in this capacity, it's how the rest of your life looks, right?
Yeah.
Because this was not about sex. It was, if you can't know yourself here, then how do you know who you are in every other way that you show up? And it really started to get me to look at my life and say, okay, well, if I'm showing up this way when I'm with partners, and I looked at all my past relationships and I'm like, all right, so I wasn't verbalizing my wants, my needs, and my desires. I wasn't speaking my truth. I wasn't using my voice. I didn't have a connection to a sacred no.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, where do I not do that in my friendships, in my business, in just regular interactions I have with people? Yeah. And it was everywhere.
Yes.
And it was messy. And I'm like, oh, I see this touch point. I see how I'm not truly knowing myself and embodying myself. Yes, now I love myself a little bit more. Yeah. But in order to truly love myself, I have to lock my boundaries in and know what they are in the first place. Yeah. And so from this initial conversation, he sent me home and, you know, had me sort of write out, what are things that you desire in your life? Get curious. There's no shame. There's no embarrassment. be honest. This is the space to be honest. Nothing shocks him, you know?
Right.
He's been in this work, in this space for so long. He's worked with so many people and held such beautiful space for them that there was nothing that I was going to bring where he was going to be like, well, that's a first.
Right.
So I was like, I have no idea because no one, again, has ever asked me that.
Yeah.
And so I, got a little curious. And one of the things I realized was how much I craved that dom subspace. And I'm like, maybe my past relationships might have even been better had I verbalized or known that this is something that I desired.
Yeah.
Was a little bit of that kink, a little bit of that BDSM, but also being held, right? Being able to just let go, turn off, and be in my feminine flow. Yes. And see how that, played out in my life. Because I'm always in my masculine when I'm in my job. I'm in a very masculine role in real estate. And I pretty much am always dealing with men, and a lot of men who don't respect me, don't take me seriously. They'll respect my business partner, but then he's like, she's the boss. Yeah. And they struggle with that. So I'm always like, yeah, I'm the boss. And, I'm tough. And even in, my charitable work, the events that I've done, it requires a very masculine mindset to get tasks done.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with connecting and embodying to that feminine side because it just felt girly and I just didn't understand it. So I pushed it away. But I needed that point, just like as much as we need female friendships to be those, sort of what are they called? What are those like
slingshot?
Like a slingshot, like to slingshot you into yourself.
Yeah.
I needed this piece to sort of be able to soften very gracefully and safely because the feminine didn't feel safe. So when I verbalized this to him about how I wanted to explore this dom subspace and see how it would play out in my life, because I wanted to show up more in my life. I wanted to not just take care of everybody while they're sitting at the table. I wanted my seat at the table. I wanted to show up and, you can put your queen on the throne however people want to, associate with it. But I was like,
ooh, I just got a reference.
Yeah, I was
embodied reference of
the
queen of motherfucking everything. That ritual.
Rituals, Andy. Like literally, I was like, I want to be the queen of motherfucking everything.
Yeah.
And I want to sit at the table. I want to be the table. I want to hold the container.
Ooh, I want to be the table. Yes.
Right? Like, I want to bring people to my table and I want to sit at it.
Yeah.
And I also want to serve everybody at my table. And I want to know how to do all of those with grace.
Yes.
And with both my feminine and my masculine equally balancing.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, what? And, we had several conversations and he was like, let me coach you through this.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how this container can look where I can safely, emotionally, and energetically hold you so that you can learn to safely process your feelings, your emotions, to figure out where things are leaky energy, where I might have old versions of me and old wounds come up, and have somebody, sort of be like, no, stop. Not to control, but to give me permission to step forward more embodied, while knowing that no matter what, someone's there with my best interest because they're seeing a full picture that I'm not capable yet to see.
Yeah, so give us some examples, like in that dom sub dynamic. I mean, you just said that, like, how is he bringing you back, calling you into deeper presence, I call it, but like what's happening in the dom sub dynamic? And
yeah. So one really, really funny now, but one really beautiful moment we had was I, without realizing at the time, always had this need to not validate myself, but to sort of defend myself. If someone would say something or call me out, I immediately had to go, well, it's because of this or because of that. You know, I had to.
And he pulls the leash. No, I was kidding.
No.
Just gag him. No. Sorry. Okay.
No.
I'm like, come on, Victoria. Are you wearing a hood? Do you have a leash on? Like, what's happening in these scenes?
But see, they're not scenes, though.
No, I know.
That's the thing.
But there are some scenes.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not even there's no scenes. It's us showing up every single day in life.
Got it.
And he'll start to figure out and see patterns in my behavior and how I speak and how I think. And a lot of that required me to be very vulnerable with him and be very honest, because in order to step into a dom sub container, you have to fully trust this person. That's the biggest thing. And the biggest misconception that people have is that a dom is not there to control you or to shame you or embarrass you or do anything that you are not freely and willingly choosing to do and step into.
Right.
Their role is to help you discover yourself, learn yourself, embody yourself so that you can be liberated. And that was the big thing for me, is I wanted to liberate myself, and I wanted to basically, you know, to go as deeply as I could into subspace so that I could become my own like embodied dominant queen. And I need someone to do that.
Yeah, and this goes back to the range piece, is that you, in order to step into your embodied wholeness, in order to feel fully liberated, you first had to learn how to fully surrender and allow. So when you're in that allow take dynamic, dom being in the taking, sub being in the allowing, right? And you're doing so consciously through boundaries, articulating your boundaries and your agreements, and the dom is upholding them. You're, like you said, you're taken into the depths of that subspace so that you can see and feel the patterns and the programming that needs to be released and let go of, so that then when you do step into your 3D reality, you are more embodied and you can step into your queendom.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people fully understand this, even in the sort of pejorative sexual definition of BDSM, and understanding that a sub isn't doing what they're doing to like sadomasochistically receive punishment or degradation, although those are techniques that are utilized to, again, put a person in a subspace, which is, it's sub because it's subconscious. It's not subordinate. You're actually going into these deeper states of psychological subconsciousness, right? Like we know in studying Carl Jung. So you're truly discovering like those inner realms of your psyche. It's like you said, that descent into the underworld of Persephone.
Yeah. And that's the biggest piece, is how deeply could I learn to surrender, to let go, and know that I'm not surrendering because I'm giving something up or I'm losing something. I'm actually gaining everything. Because being in subspace is, you have the control, right? I'm choosing to let this person hold me, make decisions, you know, however, everyone's dynamic is different.
Yeah, this is a unique perspective. So slow down here.
Yeah. So
slow down and explain this, because, yeah, I don't know if this is very nuanced.
Yeah. And, you know, this is, again, right, this is such a taboo realm. And a lot of people associate, you know, these spaces, dom sub, as this sexual, perverse, disgusting, you know, realm. And it's the complete opposite. Our space isn't held in the sexual. It's held in that embodiment of the self for life. And so within the constructs, the boundaries that we've created, and, you know, giving me that permission to open up safely and freely, to share my life, to share the parts of myself where I've felt deep shame or felt I couldn't trust, he would call that forward.
Yeah.
because he's like, if you want to let go, you have to trust. You have to keep surrendering. And in surrendering, you have to speak. You have to utilize your voice, the sacred no, the embodied yes, and know yourself. But you can't know yourself if you don't share yourself. And how is someone else going to know you?
Yeah.
And in order to fully be in this dynamic, in this container with him, I couldn't hold anything back.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to really open up. And, you know, he would say several times, I feel like all I'm doing is talking and I'm telling you all of these things and, you know, but you're not opening up. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, was I supposed to? I'm like, I'm just happy to be. And he's like, how is this going to work if you don't let go?
Right.
And he was like, you have to trust me. You have to let go. Like, I see you wanting to, but you're holding back. And why are you holding back? What's the piece that's holding back?
Have you uncovered that piece yet?
I have. And, you know, obviously I shared so much about different traumatic experiences I've gone through and what I went through with my mom. And there's so many layers that I was like, people aren't safe. Life isn't safe. The world isn't safe. And if you give people a piece, they will take advantage. And he has worked with me very patiently and very beautifully to show me that there's nothing that he wants from me. There's no ulterior motive, that we're not playing chess. We are walking this path together in harmony and flowing so that we can create something magical and organic. And through that, I've allowed myself to, you know, become more vulnerable, to share more, which has allowed him to support me more, because when he knows those parts of myself, the past, then he can find the pattern. And then when I start to get in a loop, without even knowing I'm in a loop, he goes, he calls it forward, he corrects it.
Right.
And not because he's trying to shame me or embarrass me, but he's trying to bring awareness.
Yeah, to help you up level.
Up level, to catch the moment, to understand the trigger, right? We're always finding the root so that I can start to catch myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's exactly what a coach is. And I know this because I'm also a somatic intimacy coach. And there is something unique about your container. And I don't know if you're fully speaking into this yet. So, right? Like, how is that different from any other coach?
So I guess our difference is,
I feel like, there's something there too with, you're not playing chess, you're playing Candyland, kind of. So tell us about, what is Candyland like?
Candyland is so interesting. I mean, I think what's been really fun and explorative with this, especially for me, is realizing what kind of sub I am. And, you know, and I know I touched earlier on how in the past I had this connection point with pain.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about pain when I'm like in sexual experiences, but it's almost as if in my everyday life, right? Sabotaging, doing all of these things, I was like, I needed pain to feel. And one of the pieces that we realized when I thought I needed this pain was beneath that pain was this desire for tenderness. And that I actually didn't want the pain. It was a mask to a feeling and an emotion that I didn't feel safe to have, because nobody had given me permission to explore that, to feel safe to land. And through, I would say, maybe the first month of us working together and spending time together, I realized, oh, I want not only to be held tenderly, but I want to hold myself tenderly and lovingly.
Yeah.
And with that realization came the understanding that I'm a service sub, which plays so well into my life, in that all I've done my entire life is serve through my charity, but also in how I show up in my friendships. Even though for a while it was kind of a trauma response to avoid dealing with my own shit.
Right.
But it actually is my love language, you know, because a lot of people can understand that reference point a little bit better. But for me,
acts of service.
And so we decided that we were going to explore what that looked like in service to, you know, taking care of him as this dom figure. And it could be something as basic as, you know, doing the dishes, cooking food, running errands.
He sent me a video of his reorganized snack cabinet. He's like, Victoria reorganized my cupboards and got me healthy snacks. Calling you out, Justin, on not having healthy snacks. You needed Victoria.
And that's, I think, what's been so fun and playful about us exploring this is we didn't attach ourselves to rigidity in sort of this, you know, I don't want to say a contract, but this checklist, right? Because my whole life has been regimented checklists. So we kind of just dove in and allowed it to evolve and unfold. And by me being able to serve as a sub in my feminine and allow this person to support me, take care of me, you know, in the emotions through, you know, if I have tough business decisions or things are coming up or tough conversations with a friend, or I'm starting to get frantic in my mind or letting my emotions get the best of me and sort of running on old patterns, I immediately realize I don't have to do that anymore because I have this person here that I can turn to that holds that for me. So all of these decisions, I get to defer and allow him to step in and help make them with me, not for me. Because I'm always in control and autonomous to myself.
And is this part of the tenderness that you were speaking to, or is this more being explored in aftercare? Is the tenderness holding space emotionally and for you to process decision-making processes, or is it aftercare?
No, I mean, you know, because when you say aftercare in this context, there really isn't, you know, and I don't, maybe I'm not quite understanding how you're meaning it in this way, but, you know, when I'm going through life or a day or a week and something happens and I might be overly emotional, overly stressed, and I tap in with him, talk about my day, or if we're together, then I'm like, hey, this thing is going on, or I have this event, or I have this. And he goes, okay, well, tell me more about this experience with this person. Like, one of my biggest things is I love to take care of people, right? I want to help people. But a lot of times in doing that, I give my services away for free.
Right.
And I'm like a volunteer to every experience. And he goes, okay, so how much are you getting paid? You have to value yourself. You have to show them that what you're offering has worth. You're not just there to give it all away. So he's like, you're no longer allowed to do that. You're not a volunteer. You have something, you are someone of value. So if someone is approaching you with an ask or a need or wants help with something, you have to have that conversation around money. And we know money conversations are not easy. They're very uncomfortable. I don't like them. I don't want to do them. So I'm no longer allowed to be a volunteer with my energy.
Beautiful.
He doesn't let me do that because he's like, no, you can't. You have value and you have to see that value. So he holds me accountable. Or if I'm struggling with a conversation with a friend or a business associate where I want to be really emotional or be really stern, I'll be like, hey, the situation is going on right now. This is how I want to respond. And he'll be like, or why don't we respond this way? Why don't we craft the message this way? And if I'm like, no, I don't want to do it that way, he's like, you have autonomy unto yourself. You don't have to do it my way, but let's talk about why you're fighting me on this. Why do you think it has to be your way?
You know that most humans listening right now are basically like, wait, this is just a relationship. You know, like they're like, oh, this is like conversations that I have with my partner. So I think it's interesting for you to share this as like he's the tantric love coach. This is why I love this. It's such an exquisite tapestry to weave to help humans understand that tantra is life and life is tantra, and that, right, like there's this projection upon tantra as always being about sexual, and the truth is like what a beautiful representation of what living tantrically can look like, in that balance between the inner masculine and inner feminine, and in that sacred reciprocity, right, of like he's holding the container for you to be in your tenderness and your femininity, because you're also being of service to him, right? And there's that beautiful, I'm doing like an infinity loop pattern with my hands, because there's sacred reciprocity, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, right? Everybody wants to define and label.
Yeah.
And like you said, like people be like, oh, it sounds like a relationship. And it's like, yes, there are components that present that way, but it's so much deeper than that, because there is that, like you said, the infinity loop. There is this exchange of energetic reciprocity, whereas I have been in my service to him as the masculine, as the dom, I'm actually deeply in that feminine state, also still flowing with my masculine. Because let's say that in a day he's, asking me to help him with this, this, and that, right? There's a list of things. I, in my service, am in my feminine. Yeah. And I'm happy to do that, because that is my love language. That brings me alive. But in order to do all of these tasks in a day or in whatever time frame, I have to be able to still hold my masculine of, okay, we're going to do this at this time. I have to make sure I do this by then. I'm going to do this, but I also have to take care of this. And in supporting him with this, I'm also giving him permission to flow and to soften, so that he can be in his space and hold his masculine energetics while also being held safely and softly by the feminine. And that energetic exchange, we are always, all of us, dancing with. We're never one or the other. We're all and. And so what's been fun, like you referenced, his pantry, is I have been able to step in to his space and his life. And as much as I'm surrendering and trusting him, he is trusting and allowing me to nurture aspects of his energy, his field, and his life. I always have his best interests at heart. And I will always protect his energy, his space, and do what I can to be supportive to him, so he always has a safe space to land, just as he does for me. It's when we're going through something, there's always a certain energy, right? When someone's sick. Like when I'm sick, I call my mom. I want my mom to take care of me. I want my mom to make me soup. The feminine is very important to hold us so that we can step forward just as much as we need masculine. But the masculine has to be embodied and grounded. And the feminine also helps hold the space for them to do that. So I also hold an energetic space for him. And in doing that, I'm cooking nurturing foods. I love to cook. It's in my blood. I love to take care. Having healthier snacks in the house, especially with, I guess, my background in my eating disorder and on understanding nutrition and wellness in the body, and that, because I care about him as a human and as my dom, I want him to be his healthiest and his strongest when he shows up every day in his life with his clients and his retreats and all of his spaces. So I'm not going to have junk in the cabinet. I'm going to encourage healthy eating. And if he's like, I don't want to eat that right now, I want ice cream. Well, hey, here's ice cream, right? Because I'm still honoring him.
His desires.
His desire and his right to say, thank you, but no. And then he's still giving me space to rearrange certain things, but in the rearranging, I'm making more space. I'm not taking it away.
Wow. Beautiful distinction.
Yeah. So we've been able to equally give this to each other.
Yeah.
And it comes from a place of respect, trust, that we have each other, we're trusting each other, and we are allowing that container to evolve as we're evolving as our individual selves.
Yeah.
And
supporting each other and the highest good for all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
exquisite.
Yeah. And
thank you for sharing this unique arrangement, of sacred reciprocity and relationships and that inner masculine, inner feminine balance and all the energies. And we could keep going, but just to close us out here with your work and how folks can stay connected to you, to experience inner alchemy and Kundalini and everything else that you have bubbling up. Share with us how to stay connected to you and your lovely energy.
Yeah, so I have my Instagram, which is the _sovereign_sage.
The underscore.
To reference the underscores.
The Sovereign Sage.
The Sovereign Sage.
Yay.
That is the best way to connect with me, stay connected, see the work that I'm doing in the Kundalini space. Obviously, right now, the spaces I'm in with Kundalini are fewer and far between. Hopefully, there will be more to come.
There will be more.
There will be more. Because, the work is transformative. It's life-changing. It's liberating.
Yeah.
Just like my space I'm in right now has liberated me in so many ways to step forward and claim my life and have permission to do that. Through this Kundalini work, I get to full circle that back and give other people permission to step into their life and become embodied, whether that's through doing group sessions or if people want to reach out to me to do private one-on-ones. I'm based now in Florida, in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, but coming back and forth to Chicago. So those in-persons would be in both of those places for now, but I love doing Zoom sessions. They're just as impactful and powerful. I love working with couples, I found, and of course women, because just as Justin has done for me so beautifully, I want to continue to return that favor to give women permission to become the embodied masters of their life and show up in a way that feels authentic and true to them without fear or shame or judgment, to just be as special and sacred as they are.
Yeah. Exquisite. Yeah. Thank you for this full circle moment too.
Yes.
Of connecting as sisters, especially knowing the beginning of our path. And it's just been such an honor and a pleasure watching you blossom and unravel. And I really felt your share regarding like the compression in your chest and rib cage and back about like the wings. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw me smile in that moment, because like your dragon wings, like you finally now have spread your wings and you're flying. And it's so beautiful. So it's so fun to fly with you now. Yay!
Thank you.
I love you so much. Thank you for being here.